Hello, everybody. I'm Stu and I'm from Scotland.
My name is Wesley, I'm from Brazil,
So, we've been living in New Zealand for 5 years now.
and that's why we are making this video here with 10 things that you should know before coming to New Zealand in 2024.
Let's get into it. Number one, you need a visa to get into the country.
And in case you don't know what is a visa, it's just a permission that allows you to get into the country.
Yeah. Same with any country these days. It's something you just have to obtain to get entry in.
And there are many options out there, so it can be a bit confused, and that's why we really recommend you check the immigration page. We're gonna leave the link below, so just give a look.
Yeah, it's really useful actually, and it guides you exactly which visa you need. But we're also going to do an in-depth video of all the visas we've had.
Yeah, we've been here for about 5 years, so over those 5 years, we already had 6 different visas. So we're gonna share a little bit about that in the next video with you guys. Number 2! Arriving in New Zealand. So finally you got your visa and you are ready to come, then you arrive here. What to expect?
New Zealand's pretty strict on their immigration laws and that, especially on biodiversity. So something you need to check is that your hiking boots and all these things have no mud on them, and you're not bringing anything that could harm the environment here.
Yeah, I didn't visit many countries, but I've never seen like so many restrictions like here. When I came for the first time, I had my hiking boots with me, and I did have to open my luggage to show it to the guys over there, just to make sure there was no like kind of seed, on my boots. So because like something that's not native from New Zealand, you cannot just bring to the country. So they are really restrict about that.
Yeah, no animal products or nothing like that. We used to
Nope.
watch a show, I think it was called Nothing to Declare, and you used to see some people try like pack raw animal products and that. So none of that. They're very strict, and yeah, you're allowed your snacks from the airplane, because I was actually a bit worried about that. I was like, ooh, I never declared food. That's like, surely this chocolate bar from the plane will be fine, and it is.
When I came for the first time, inside of the airplane, they gave us a form where you have to fill it up and declare everything that you have in your bags with you. So that form you just present as soon as you land. Yeah. So,
And another thing, they also x-ray your bag once you've got to customs. I wasn't expecting that. You've went through the declaration part, they put your bag for another x-ray, so don't be stealing, smuggling anything in.
be aware.
And declare. Tip number 3, where to live. Well, of course this all depends on personal preference, and you will have to do your research before coming here. I'm sure you know by now that the country is split into 2 islands, North Island and South Island.
North Island is much warmer than South Island, so if you're not like a winter person, I do recommend you avoid South Island, especially on winter. It can be like really cold. I was struggling when I got here. I'm from Brazil, tropical country, I got here just before winter, so it was really hard.
Yeah, I'm from Scotland, so the climate for me is pretty bearable, but you get your winter sports and that down in Queenstown and even around Christchurch. So a lot of people do come here for the winter sports.
Yeah.
But yeah, your weather preference is all down to yourself. Another big difference between the islands is cultural differences. So we must say that we've only lived in South Island.
Yep. So when we were living in Queenstown, we didn't have much contact with the Maori culture living there.
Zero, basically. Well, you had a little, but...
Yeah, so where I was working, they had the karakia. That's a kind of like parade that they did before and after the meetings. So there are many different kind of karakias there. I'd like to learn. I unfortunately didn't, but that's on my bucket list. So who knows in the future. But since we moved to Christchurch, we haven't seen much more of the Maori culture than in Queenstown. So we can see that in the buildings, there are signs, you see people on streets, So I got to work with a few of them, so it's really nice experience. Yeah.
Something else to consider is between the islands is I think North Island has more of a beach culture compared to down here. Even though we do have some beaches, they're They're not quite the same as Brazilian beaches are, so don't expect that much.
Nope, they're quite different, trust me.
Yeah, so it all depends on what you're planning to do, your hobbies, like surfing and that. They have surf schools in Christchurch. Obviously, they don't have in Queenstown because it's inland.
Yeah.
Down there is more for snowboarding and that kind of sports. So these are things you have to think about.
And you also have to consider your lifestyle. So if you really enjoy going out for a drink, some place can be quite for you. So we do recommend you some cities like Queenstown. Queenstown, the nightlife is great. The city never stops. Or somewhere that's bigger like Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington. So New Zealand doesn't have many big cities. So if you're a city person, we do recommend you go to one of those main ones.
Yeah.
And now tip number 4. Boo, boo, boo. What is that?
Tip number 4 is
Safety.
safety,
Safety,
crime,
New Zealand.
etc., etc.
Is it a safe place to live?
Yes, absolutely.
I would say so.
Yeah. I'm being from Scotland, like a little farming village in the northeast, so both places are very safe for me.
I'm from Brazil. Well, Brazil can be, how can I say, interesting, you know, but it's not bad. But yeah, definitely New Zealand, we feel like a safe place to live. So when we were living in Queenstown, we never had much problem with like that.
Queenstown is a bubble, yeah. You weren't exposed to much crime at all. And people who have houses barely have house keys, like the tenants and that. None of us had keys. People's door were just left open.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of it, really.
Not just that, even like by the lake, the people just leave their kayaks and
Yeah.
boats and stuff like that around the lake. So it's pretty safe place to live. The only problem that I saw when we were living there is just fights. So a lot of people, they can drink a lot because Queenstown is full of bars. So some people, they go there, they drink a lot and they lose their mind. So sometimes you just see people fighting on
Guilty.
streets. Yeah.
Brits abroad, can't go anywhere. Alright, okay.
What about Christchurch?
Since we moved to Christchurch, there's definitely more crime here than in Queenstown, but still nothing in comparison to big cities.
Yeah, for what I saw, it's more like people stealing cars. Because here in Christ seems like people love cars, you know, so they have car races. You see some cars like Fast and Furious, you know, that style of car. Yeah, so Stuart once someone just broke the back of like the glass of his car. Our neighbor just happened the same with him recently, and I heard people just complain about people stealing cars. So for what I saw, it's basically that.
But yeah, not that bad. I've heard it can be worse in Auckland than in Christchurch.
Yeah.
But you do get a lot of boy racers here. We actually had a guy just crash his car into one of our neighbours' house the other night, not to put you off. But we were like, oh, our first earthquake. And nope, that was a drunk driver who smashed into the neighbour's garage.
And when you were in Scotland, there was a guy driving here. He just fell in the river with his car.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
there
never
was a
knew
race.
that.
You were not here.
Yeah, so seems to be a lot of traffic accidents under the influence in Christchurch.
Yeah. So, and about North Island, because we never lived there, so we don't know much. But at least our friends said, like, you can find some gangs over there. So, but we don't know. We cannot tell because we never lived there.
Next up, tip number 5.
Bate aqui. High five.
Tip number 5, cost of living in New Zealand. What do you have to say about the cost of living here?
It's expensive.
So expensive.
Be prepared, okay?
Mhm.
Yeah. You think it's easy, it's beautiful, but it's not cheap.
Yeah. It costs, the beauty pays for this country, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about wages first.
Yep. So the minimum wage in New Zealand, look this. We just got like, you know, some, how to say, not pay rise, but yeah.
Pay rise. Yeah, the government issued a pay rise.
Yeah, it was recently. That's good news, right? Yeah. Guess how much was it?
How much?
45 cents.
Better than nothing.
So now the minimum age is $23.15. Okay, just check it. This information, the immigration website, so I know it's correct. So if you work 40 hours per week, you can make $926. but that's before tax. After tax, probably you're gonna get around $700.
And that's working minimum wage, so we can only speak on our own professions and what we're working here. I work as an electrician, so I've worked in Australia in the past and obviously back home in Scotland. And New Zealand is probably the country I've been paid the least wages in comparison to the cost of living. So groceries and all that is so much higher than what you get paid, whereas Australia was so much higher, and even Scotland. I just was on a big trip back home, and electricians are paid more now than you are here.
Yeah. So it's the same. I'm from Brazil, so I used to work with sports in general, like PE, PT teacher, and then back home I was able to afford with a better lifestyle, I would say, because it's cheaper, the cost of living in Brazil. So supermarket, I feel it's much cheaper than here. I guess just electricity, I would say it's more expensive there. Rent in Brazil can be cheaper than here for sure. So I would say here probably you guys will pay around $250 rent
Per month.
That's the minimum. Yeah, no, per week.
Per week.
That's per week. So 250 per week. So what happens, most of people, they just share houses with strangers. So you're gonna need flatmates, you know? So that's become a problem sometimes because you share a house with too many people, and that will make your rent get cheaper. But then you lose some privacy because we're sharing with a lot of people. But if you don't mind, it can be a really good solution for you. But if you want more privacy, if you want just a place for yourself, like we have a house just for us, we rent just a small place, so maybe you're gonna have to pay a little bit more for that.
Yeah. Again, all on your personal preference. So we lived in Queenstown, and it was just too expensive to rent a place to yourself there.
Yeah.
As is the case with a lot of travelers, I guess. So most people share a house, and yeah, you rent a room basically. But when you've done that for 4 years, we were like, we need a place to ourselves, which
Yeah.
is much more affordable in Christchurch than it is in Queenstown.
And just for knowing, Queenstown, it's been really hard to find a place because there's so many tourists there, and we don't have many places available. So a lot of Lordlands, they just put their places for Airbnb. So if you wanna rent a place for long term, probably you're not going to find. And that's why people just share with other people, so it's easier that way.
Yeah, most people we know actually have left Queenstown. We only have a select few friends left there. But it's good because we get to go down and visit often.
And we don't pay for accommodation.
Yeah.
Apart from that, so we spoke about rent. So supermarket, I spend like around 150 per week.
150 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spend about the same, so that's each. So between us, $300.
And to be honest, we don't buy much stuff. We just buy like the essentials. Really try to avoid buy like some unnecessary stuff. We don't drink that much.
No.
So if you drink a lot, probably that will be more expensive than we are telling you.
Yeah, going to the supermarket is definitely where I notice how expensive this country is. There's like very few chains of supermarkets, and there are only two who own all the separate branches, so there's no competition. They don't have Aldi, they don't have Lidl, so no budget supermarkets, and for that reason they can basically charge whatever they want and get away with it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say when I was back in the UK recently, like the pack of chicken, for example, I would say is double the price here than what it is in the UK.
Yeah, and vegetables and fruits back home, I feel they are like more like fresh
Yeah.
than here, and they are cheaper as well. So they have better quality and they are cheaper than here.
Yeah,
So.
because a lot of things are imported, obviously. Small
Yeah.
island life.
The next topic here would be power, electricity. So because it's just us in this house here, so now we are at the end of summer. So usually our bills are around $90, right?
$90 per month. Yeah, again, that'll all depend on how much power you use.
How many people you have in your house?
Yeah, all these factors. But on average, I'd say about $100 per month.
Yeah, and usually in winter it goes up because of the heaters.
And internet is usually around $60 to $90, depending on which provider. But you just shop around this time of year and you usually get a good deal. You just have to haggle.
And if you wanna buy a car, you can find a car here for around $1,000. Stuart got a car before, really good for $1,000. That
Yeah.
was a great deal.
Yeah.
So car is something that you find for a cheap price here in New Zealand. The price of fuel now it's around 175. Yeah, something around that.
Yeah, so shop around.
Number 7.
6.
6, that's what I said. Number 6, transport. What do you have to say about transport in New Zealand? Huh?
I haven't read it yet, so...
Boo! I can start this
Yeah.
one. So transport here. So a really good tip for you if you just arrived in New Zealand would be use the public transport. So the buses here, they are really good, at least comparing with the ones back home. So they are really good and the price is fair. So if you arrive here, so for example, when we were leaving Queenstown, so there is a bus that just stops by the airport and goes to town. So you can just catch that bus to go to town, but you have to pay by cash. So if you wanna pay by cash, that costs $4. In Christchurch, it's the same price, okay? But I recommend you just buy a card. So in Queenstown, you need the B card. Here in Christchurch, we need the Metro card. So once you get your card, I guess that will cost you $20. So they give you the card and that $20 credit in the card, you know. So every time when you tap your card, it will take off $2 only. So it's cheaper with the card than paying by cash. And usually the buses are on time. That's really good.
There's not much trains here, unfortunately, so rail transport's not really a big thing. There's only a few. It goes around the coast and maybe inland. But there's a ferry, so most people would own a car here, and there's 1 or 2 ferries that go between the 2 islands. So it's not the most practical, and I've heard there's a bit of a backlog, which can be weeks. So a lot of people travel by plane, really, between islands, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, transport, recommend get a car as soon as you get here. That's the best thing to do. But public transport is great. We get the bus into the city usually because it's a nightmare for parking. And Ubers is a thing here as well, so you can always get an Uber.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, a car here can be quite cheap. So for about $1,000, like $1,500, we can buy a car. Of course, it's not gonna be like a brand new car, but it's a car that can, you know, help you. And apart from that, we have some options here that we definitely don't have in Brazil. I've never heard about. That's the relocation cars. Tell us a little bit about that.
There is a website called, I'll link it here, www.transfercar.com, I think, or .co.nz. But basically, you just type in which city you're in and which city your destination is, and it will tell you if there's any available cars where you can get for free or very cheap, sometimes $1.
For free.
And
That's
even
good.
a free tank of fuel as well. So we've used that a few times to go between Christchurch and Queenstown. Usually it's just a 1 route journey and you leave the car there and then you fly back, but it works out great, saves some money.
Yeah, exactly. The cars there are great. So these guys, they just need to send the car from one place to the other one, and they don't have a driver. So that's you. You can get the car and just do all the way there for free. So that's really good. We do recommend you just check relocation cars. The next one, rent a car. Have you rented a car here?
Rented a camper van here, haven't rented a car.
Yeah, I did once. So as a Brazilian, I was allowed to drive here with my Brazilian driver license for a year, and after that I had to get my New Zealand license. But with my Brazilian one, it's weird because I was able to drive, but I wasn't able to use that license to rent a car. Because once I tried and they denied, they were like, well, we cannot understand what it's saying. I was like, damn. So I had to pay someone to translate that license for me, and I was carrying that translation for a year until I got my New Zealand one.
Unless you're a lawbreaker, I just remembered a funny story my friend Jenna told me that she had a... Number 7, things to do. Where to start? Take your pick. There's an abundance of things to do in New Zealand. That's why so many people come here.
Tell me, which kind of things are there?
There's so much things to do. I
So
can't even
tell
think
me
of
5.
one.
Tell me 5 right now.
So, people come to New Zealand to hiking. See, I thought of one. I knew something was up
Hiking,
there.
So hiking is a big thing here in New Zealand, so we do recommend you give it a try. So we were living in Queenstown. Queenstown is a perfect place for that. Some hikes are easier than the other ones. Some are more popular, so in case you come to New Zealand, we do recommend you talk with the local people so they can give you some nice tips. When we were living in Queenstown, we did the Queenstown Hill. That's really easy one. A lot of people don't know about that one. We did the White Creek.
I actually have 2 videos on those coming up soon as well.
Yeah, they are really good tracks. Like the White Creek, it's amazing, really easy as well. So and it's not so far from town.
Yeah.
So it's a good one to give a try because some can be quite hard, like Belmont in Queenstown.
Yeah. So hiking's a big thing, but just sports in general, really. Hunting's really big here, not something we've partaken in ourselves, but
Snowboarding, ski.
snowboarding, yeah. I highly recommend snowboarding, but be careful because I did injure myself doing that and wasn't fun.
Surf,
Surf, yeah.
mountain biking,
Mountain biking's big, and
skateboard.
skateboarding, camping, just the outdoor life really. That's what people come to New Zealand for.
Camping, definitely you should try. I'm from Brazil. We don't have that culture in Brazil to go out and camp. Like
No camping.
not in camper vans.
Shame.
No, there's some specific place. Like I used to live beside of the national park where people used to go to do some hikes and then camp there. But that's like something really specific, you know, a specific place. In general, we don't do that. While here, you see people camping like everywhere.
Yeah.
So you just see camper vans all the time, you know, going to everywhere. So it's quite different. So we do recommend you. So there are some campings there for free. You can download an app that shows you which camp they have like showers, they have kitchen. Some is just like a space where you can put your, you know, your tent. So
And the best thing about it is there's no creepy crawlies that can kill you like in Australia. So that's always a plus. I camped once in Australia and it was terrifying, and it's nice to go to sleep knowing there's not a spider that can kill you above you.
and if you are camping, no fire.
No fire. That's huge in New Zealand actually.
Yeah.
That's good because my parents camp a lot back in Scotland, and my dad loves a bonfire. It's his favourite part of the night, and so do I. But in New Zealand, it's just too dry here. We actually had big fires on the Port Hills behind us the other day,
Yeah.
and it took like 3-4 days to get the fire out, and no one knows what started it. It could have just been something small like a tourist cigarette butt. So yeah, no fires whilst you're camping.
Remember. And number 8 we have the language.
Language. Barre over here. Okay.
Which language we speak here?
English.
Yeah. So we speak English in New Zealand, and we also have Maori. Okay. But especially here in South Island, most of the place you're gonna just see people speaking in English. You can hear some Maori, you can see some Maori signs around the town as well, but it's really nice. As I mentioned before, you can have like the karakia in some events, some stuff like that, but it's mainly English.
Tell us about your experience. You never talked English before coming here.
No, I came to study English and it was terrible at the beginning. My first day I tried to order a coffee like in the coffee shop across my district where I was living. I couldn't understand the lady. I swear. I was like, 1 cappuccino. And she asked me something. I was like, yeah. Yeah, but anyway.
It's difficult. I couldn't imagine myself going to Brazil and not knowing a word of Portuguese. For me, that is absolutely terrifying. And I'm amazed, even our friends, how quick people have learned English coming here. And of course, a lot of people come from different countries, China, everywhere. So lots of accents. And if you're a native English speaker, be patient with everyone who is not. Rule number 1, be kind and treat everyone with respect, because they might have just learned English only recently.
And if your case is like mine, like if English is not your first language, you'll be fine, you know? Because I guess here people are used to, I don't know, like talk with foreigners. So in general, like I don't have problem to express myself. I guess people can understand me really well. So people are like nice and kind in general. I would say in general, it's fine.
And some Brazilians, they make their little groups and never learn English after 10 years, some people.
I'm not that one.
No, nah.
Neither my friends.
Nah, they've all what's the word, integrated, but you do
Yeah.
get little Brazilian communities
Yeah.
who don't know any English
Yeah.
and they just continue to speak Portuguese.
I don't recommend you stay in those bubbles with the ones from your own country, okay? So just mix around, like meet people from different countries, just blend, learn new stuff, that's really good. I do recommend.
Number 9, LGBT life in New Zealand.
Look, the rainbow!
So what's your experience with LGBT life here?
Me? Tell me you.
Well, let's start with nightlife. Nightlife here is probably lacking, I would say. But I am from Scotland, a little northeastern village, as I said, so there's more going on here than there was in my area of Scotland, but still not that great.
Yeah, I'm from Brazil, so it's crazy because like in Brazil we have a lot of hate crime against the LGBT community there. Unfortunately, Brazil can be quite a homophobic country, and I don't feel that here in New Zealand. So I feel people here are more open. It's really good actually. So I really enjoy it. But I would say the nightlife back home for the gay community, it's much better than here, definitely.
Yeah, it's more not promoted here, but accepted here. Like in schools and that, they'll have pride flags and people will have conversations about it. Religion's not so big here, so that could be a factor, of course.
Yeah. So I was working with some kids in the past, like until the end of last year. So I worked with some kids and teenagers, and it's really cool to see, like, go to schools and then you see like the rainbow flag there. And then usually when you start like an event or a meeting with the kids and teenagers, we always ask like, how do you identify? And they say, and the other kids, they don't see a problem in it. Like when someone says, I am non-binary, and everybody's cool with that, how it should be. So it's really good to see like how New Zealand is doing this. I don't see this kind of situation happening back home so soon, because Brazil can be quite conservative. So yeah, it's a shame.
So nightlife, back to night, even though there is a lack of bars and stuff here, they do have a lot of LGBT festivals. They have Winter Pride in Queenstown, which is one of the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere, I think. And it's really fun. They have lots of events. We've been a few years, and there's even a picture of me. I was used on the website one year. Let's show it now. But they also have festivals up in Auckland. I think it's called something in the park.
And they have pride everywhere, I would say.
So there's
but
festivals.
it's quite small, at least comparing to back home. I would say the pride here is quite small comparing there, but it's nice. They just run many events like drag bingo, karaoke night, or drag queen performances and stuff like that.
Yeah. We have friends from LA, so I think coming from a place like that to New Zealand, it's going to be very different expectations, so just be aware of that.
Yeah, but keep in mind, New Zealand's pretty open for LGBT community.
Yeah, safety is great, so that's all that matters.
And finally, we got to the last one, number 10.
Finally, jeez.
Number 10 is religion.
I can't talk much about religion because I'm not a religious person, so over to you.
I'm not religious neither, but like New Zealand's not a really religious country, but we still we do have some churches around in case you are. So no, but it's true.
No,
so especially like people for what I know, my friends from Latin America in general, Latin America can be quite religious, like Catholics, and Christians in general. So we do have some Christian churches around. I know in Christchurch they have more options than in Queenstown. So here they have some mosques as well. So you can see people just expressing their religions here without problems. So in case you are, just know there's options for you here as well.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen quite a few Methodist church, Adventist church, and they have Samoan type churches, which I have no idea about, so I won't speak about. It's quite funny because we said New Zealand's not a religious country, but the name of the city we live in is Christchurch. So,
yeah,
ironic, yeah. But religion, yeah.
Anyway,
10 top tips that might have been useless or might have been helpful for you.
I hope it helps you in case you are considering coming to New Zealand in 2024.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if there's anything else you would like to know, and we can share our personal experiences.
Yeah.
And we said we're going to do another video about visas, so stay tuned for that coming soon.
But anyway, we're gonna leave the immigration page here below, so you can just give a look if you already want to know a little bit more.
Yeah. So we'll see you in the next one. Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.